Welcome to Hashknife Hangouts. I'm Calen Carpenter. With me is my partner, co-host, and father, Brandon. Before we get started, for those on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. You can shut off the notification bell if you want. Facebook, like, comment, share, and on all platforms, spread the word to your friends. Now to the opening notes. So today we're going to discuss Meat Out Day. Twitter and Facebook and all sorts of different platforms were going crazy yesterday. Yesterday was March 20th. This episode.
Were they really?
Yeah. This episode will publish in a couple of weeks afterwards, but I saw some things. Like I said, I saw it on Twitter, but it was a lot of dialogue on Facebook, and then I saw some articles and stuff. So the source for this particular introduction is from the New York Times, and it's titled "A Meat War is Waged Across State Lines," and it was dated the 16th of March. So it was this last Tuesday. Well, the Colorado governor made a, quote, ceremonial, according to the New York Times, proclamation stating no meat should be consumed as a push toward a plant-based diet, among other things like animal ethics, environment, health, etc. The Nebraska governor, God bless that man, saw this and reacted with meat on the menu day. And that Nebraska governor, we'll get to his name because I don't remember right now, was quoted saying, "That is a direct attack on our way of life here in Nebraska," end quote.
Our Montana one did exactly the same thing.
Yes, and this is
okay,
what
you're getting there. Sorry,
because I saw Governor Gianforte said the same thing. And actually, while we're going down that road, let me pop this up on Facebook because I did see it. I think on here. Oh man. I wish I would have saw that Gianforte, because he did a proclamation, and it was absolutely fantastic, and I loved it. And that's what spurred this whole thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find it in time. I wish I would have thought of that, but anyway. So first thing is, what is Meat Out Day? Well, it started 1985 by FARM, FARM, all caps. And it stands for Farm Animal Rights Movement. Essentially, it's a different version of PETA if you really look into a lot of their stuff. They're also all about veganism and environmentalism and stuff like that. The group encourages people to, quote, explore the benefits and flavors of a wholesome plant-based diet. They focus on health and use the environment as a reason to move toward plant-based foods. Okay, I disagree with a lot of that, but all right, whatever. But because we're talking about Colorado and Meat Out Day, guess how much the ag industry contributes to Colorado's economy? Got a number in mind, Dad? It's in the billions with the
I was going to say it's over a billion for sure.
47 billion to be exact.
47, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now Colorado.
Yeah, but their pot sales, taxes on that are going to be
I'm not
way higher than that.
Yeah, it's
higher than that.
But it's still a significant chunk of your economy.
Right.
Now, Colorado Cattlemen's Association, or CCA, came out with a statement which I read and wholeheartedly agree with. They stated this is an attack on people who have suffered, this is a summary, suffered already over the past year with the pandemic. That was exactly what I was thinking before they even said it, and I was glad that they mentioned that. And now the nation is boycotting them. I mean, we've been struggling for a year. Everybody has, and now you're going to villainize the people who are feeding you. All right. Additionally, the CCA will create informational pamphlets and media to educate people better. So here was my question. Why is it that the cattle and meat industry always seem to be behind the curve on this issue? Very frustrating. Like, where are our industry's leaders? And here's was my next thought. Do you know who does it right? 4-H and FFA. They're teaching the next generation how to care after animals and crops, how to be responsible and respectful, and the benefits of a healthy overall lifestyle, all while informing and teaching kids on how to do these things for the next generation. These are elementary and high school organizations, but we seriously need to figure out how we can do this in the real world, because we're seriously losing this political and social position in the market. And in my perspective, it's slowly disintegrating over time. We're watching it firsthand. The Colorado governor's office tried to downplay the issue, saying that there were many proclamations made every year, and the last one, like this particular proclamation that Colorado made, came in 2011. So 10 years ago. However,
if you make a proclamation,
yeah,
then it's the same as any other proclamation. There's lots of them made. So if we decide that we're going to kill all 18 to 20-year-olds by proclamation, that's okay, because there's lots of other proclamations. I mean, that's That's
To play
kind of a
devil's
wild
advocate, I
out
don't
there.
think it works quite that way, but I mean,
Okay, it's an extreme, and as I said, it's way out there. However, how about if we just limit some of the 18 to 20-year-olds' rights? Because yeah,
we already
legally
did
they're
that.
adult, but are they really? Because the brain doesn't completely fully function and fully mature until you're 25.
Well, side note, and here's coming from a 27-year-old captain in the United States Army, and I can get you CMJ for this. I don't care. You you just took away rights for kids smoking at 18.
Right.
They already couldn't drink, and now you're taking away smoking. People are willing to lay down their lives at 18, 17 with a guardian's signature, and you take away their smoking and their drinking. I think if you're willing to die for your country, you should be able to have that can of Copenhagen, that pack of cigarettes, that freaking cigar, or that bottle of whiskey or 6-pack of beer if you choose.
This was a
My opinion.
debate. This was a debate that I had in high school with a our history teacher.
Yeah.
And he's got history and government teacher. And he was having to, take one side, or did take one side. Whether he really believed that or not, I don't know, because I know he was also in a merchant or in the Merchant Marines at a very young age.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah,
See,
this debate's been going on forever.
and I can make a compromise for this too. You're willing to serve your country? Okay, 18. You're not willing to serve your country? Okay, 21. Done. I can do that. I'll go with that. But if you're willing to do that, Jesus.
Well, and my point to that is, just because you make a proclamation and there's all kinds of proclamations, doesn't mean the damn proclamations are right.
Yeah. No, I agree. But like going off of that, they said the last one is in 2011, and here was my point though. You're downplaying an issue because you essentially ostracize the people who feed you and put food on your table. However, Nebraska made a May 2020, so last May, a beef month to highlight agriculture and the beef industry in that state.
For a month.
For a month. There's a difference between putting down people and ostracizing them versus highlighting them, bringing them up. Right. Why do we do International Women's Day? Why do we do Juneteenth? Stuff like that, to bring up these people and say, look at what they have done. They've struggled through centuries of being kept, essentially put down by the man, the glass ceiling, all that, and we're trying to highlight them for a month and say these are the great things that they have done. We need to recognize that. There's a big difference between the two. So this is a direct quote from the New York Times article that I read. Agriculture is Nebraska's #1 industry, and beef is our largest segment of production, Mr. Ricketts said in a statement. Mr. Ricketts, that's the governor. Nebraska governor. While meat is one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat, there are radical anti-agricultural activists that are working to end meat production and our way of life here in Nebraska, end quote. Same in Montana, folks. Same in freaking Montana. Here are some stats from Nebraska. And this is what I'll give it to them, New York Times provided. 1 out of 4 jobs in Nebraska are supported by agriculture. Nebraska, I'm assuming based off this number, is significantly poorer than Colorado. Instead of 47 billion, 21 billion comes from agriculture each year in Nebraska. 12 of that 21 billion from meat production alone. So, of course, the New York Times promoted the American Heart Association's issues with the red meat and why it just added to the fodder for Meat Out Day, but whatever. But I'll finish with this. Here's a quote from the article. It was like the last 2 paragraphs. In response to the backlash, Kate Greenberg, the Colorado Agriculture Commissioner, issued an open letter to the state's livestock producers and clarified that the proclamation was, quote, non-binding and did not create a new state holiday, the Sterling Journal-Advocate reported. She noted that a similar proclamation had been made by former Governor John Hickenlooper in 2011. Quote, you and your families and your hard work are part of the backbone of Colorado's rural communities, she wrote. I want you to know that I've got your back as you do what you do best. The livestock industry is an essential part of Colorado's past, present, and future. No proclamation will change that. And so I find it interesting that the Colorado Ag Commissioner would say that when people have struggled over the last year with surviving, come on. If you really want to promote the healthy lifestyle and environmental impact you claim to do, how about you highlight a vegan lifestyle or something like that? how Nebraska did with May in the beef month rather than attacking an industry. Again, totally different way of approaching the situation. For my last note, before we start discussing this further, if you want to promote plant-based diets, look at what you're asking. Again, I would love to see untainted scientific numbers on the greenhouse gases of cattle compared to cities and equipment use. And here's specifically why. I'll preface this with a sorry to all the farmers out there for this statement. But you want to go plant-based only? Okay, here's your cost. More equipment, more machinery, more runtime on that equipment and machinery, and you may get more plant products for your consumption. But what will likely increase? Carbon emissions from those vehicles to produce those very items you're hoping to do the opposite with. You are not thinking critically about any of the secondary and tertiary effects. And then the final note, children growing up with without meat consumption. I'm no dietitian, but I know the fastest way to consume protein for muscle building and growth is to eat meat. So you take that away from the next generation and you'll see what happens to their bodies. I think you will be very disappointed with the outcome versus what we have right now. So with that, Dad's take.
Oh, good God. First of all, whenever you have a organization that calls themselves, say like farm.
Yeah.
So you're basically taking a name, a concept, and then you're putting your own twist on that is a little bit misleading. That's almost when you look at that farm. Oh, is this a pro farm thing? Yes, it is. We think we should only farm plants. We should have no animals. That's propagandizing an entire concept or taking advantage of your first thought in your mind. And when of course when I think farm, I think farm. I think people that are drilling, cultivating wheat, corn, soybeans, your pulse crops, all of that stuff. That's what I think of when I hear farm. I hear see in my head turning dirt.
I see combines, I see a shed or a shop, and I see fields getting either turned, watered, seeded, reaped, whatever.
Right. When I hear ranch, I see cows grazing on grass.
Yeah.
Those are the things that come into my head. So, but anytime that you take those concepts and then you swap them in your very name, now you're setting yourself up. You are a propaganda tool. That's the first thing, because you're trying to sway someone's initial opinion or initial thought process, and that's what propaganda does. The New York Times, they're a joke. I mean, they should stick to rating sales of books. They're probably useful for that. Which books are sold most and what's on their top 10, top 50, whatever. So there's that. And then proclamations. I thought proclamations normally, just as you pointed out, were supposed to be for more of a positive thing. Say, hey, we want to highlight this. Yeah. Look at what this group has achieved, or what this person has done, or this industry. We want to highlight good for them. Not, oh yeah, they're evil. Don't use their products. Yeah. And that's what you're saying, because you have people with a political agenda, not with a political platform in which you can build people up. That's an issue. And it's more these idiots who say, "Oh, we're too divisive. We're just too divisive. We need to be inclusive." That is the absolute definition of being divisive.
I agree. And I was able to pull up the proclamation while you're talking, so I can read that out real quick.
Okay.
So the state of Montana, and it shows the actually, you know what? Let me share my screen.
There we go. However you do that.
See it?
There it is.
There it is. So the state of Montana, that beautiful seal of the state of Montana, Governor's Proclamation. Whereas meat is part of a healthy, balanced diet, providing pure protein with no added junk. And whereas meat is produced more sustainably than ever with innovations in animal nutrition, genetics, and manageable and management that reduce carbon footprints. And whereas Montana's beef, pork, lamb, chicken, and other livestock are produced ethically under the big sky, with many ranchers and farmers depending on that production for their livelihood. And whereas agricultural livestock production faces increasing hostility from individuals and organizations seeking to ban common sense animal husbandry practices. Now, therefore, I, Greg Gianforte, Governor of the state of Montana, do hereby proclaim March 20, 2021 to be Montana Meat Day in honor and support of all Montana farmers and ranchers who feed our state, nation, and world, driving our state's #1 industry. Greg Gianforte, Governor. I love
Good for
it.
him. Good for
I
him.
love it.
Yep, absolutely. You know, as they spelled out the number of other livestock, or
Yeah.
how important are bees?
Excuse me, what?
Bees. Like
Oh, that was something I was when I was watching in Afghanistan, the killer bees were coming in from Washington. I was like, that's not something to laugh at. I mean, we do laugh at it, but it's not because I know the Northwest, that area really depends a lot on bee use for production of crops and fruits and
yeah.
stuff like
If
that. And
you
then you
don't
come
have
over to
that,
Montana, we've got it too.
well, and you've got pollination. This is a global thing. Guess what bees are considered in Montana?
I don't know. Are they?
Livestock.
They are okay.
Bees are taxed as livestock, and they are taxed by how many pounds of bees you have. So if you're a guy who's got honeycombs or making honey, you are providing a service to somebody's fields with a high concentration of bees. It's symbiotic.
Right. Yeah, you're
Those
making honey, but then those crops are also getting
crops
pollinated and they're
getting
growing.
pollinated.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You don't have bees on this globe, you got some problems.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so I think, maybe we should have little anti-bee day. I mean, how ridiculous is this going to get? Because
Yeah.
we're subjugating bees to
Right.
slavehood. I mean,
I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm telling you, there's some moron out there that would come up with that.
Yeah.
We're putting them in boxes. We make them stay in places that are not natural. That's not their own natural hive. And then
Mhm.
we force them to go to places they wouldn't normally go, where they truck them in, and then they make them go there. Now they're captive because they can't go anywhere else. The only place they're going to survive is to come back and forth between this little honey box. And I'm sorry, the terms, I don't know. I'm not
The honey box,
familiar
yeah.
with an apiary. Oh, I know an apiary
I
word.
didn't know what that word was, but yeah, no, out of context, I'm guessing it's like a bee ranch.
Yeah, there you go, bee ranch. No, but that's right.
Yeah.
And so the ridiculousness of where they will go with this has no bounds, zero. And if you don't want to eat meat, good, don't care.
Right.
I'm okay with that. For whatever reason, if you think it's unethical for me to save a calf's life like I did yesterday afternoon on anti-meat day, here I am, we're tagging calves. We're trying to keep calves alive. I had to pull a calf from a cow that, was in distress enough that just because she's lazy and wasn't going to push hard to have this calf, and I helped her. I pulled it, helped it alive. They're a happy pair out there this morning on anti-meat day. Who's really doing a service? I just saved a life. How many people did they try to sway by
You probably
not
saved 2
eating meat?
lives.
Yes. In reality, a very good possibility of that, because calf dies in her, huge complications. So anyway, this stuff is.
But I think it goes back to our conversation that we had before we started filming the episode, which is I don't go around telling people how they should do things. And it's the same way. Instead of highlighting vegan, like saying, hey, we want to do a vegan day or something like that, we're going against beef industries, the pork industry, the lamb industry, all this stuff. And instead of saying, hey, let's rise up, and we're like, this is the day where we want to really say vegans are trying to do their part in the world by blah 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 blah.
If you're a
Instead, we're
vegan,
trying to.
no, I agree with you. If you're a vegan and you go, you know what? I used to eat meat, and for my body, because it's all about my body.
Yeah.
I
There's
just
a lot
didn't
of people that
feel
do
it
for
for
other
them.
reasons too.
Sure there are. Some of them are religious reasons. Some of
Yep.
them are, they think it's an ethical thing to not eat meat.
Yep.
I mean, some of them, they say, you know what? I am an athlete where I will get my protein through eggs, which eggs are not protein. I don't give a shit what you say. I mean,
They're
eggs are,
protein. They're not meat, but yeah.
they're not meat. Therefore, they're not protein. Anyway, they say they get their protein through that. But if they do that, I'm being,
Yeah.
jestful, but because that's a running joke in our family. It's not a joke. Eggs are not meat. So when you have someone who has a reason personally to not do something, hey, that's your choice, dude. I am whatever blows up your skirt, I'm completely fine with, as long as it
Yep. There it is.
doesn't affect somebody else.
Yeah. Don't tell us what to do.
Right.
Inform, provide information, and that's the other part too. Like inform, let people know, but don't tell them what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Right.
Just say, hey, this is the benefits. This is what I see, and I would really like to see you do it too because I think you might benefit. But if you don't like it, by all
Don't
means,
care.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Now,
No, that's right. That
going
that
to
is that is stating a case and stating that case with support of this is what it does for me. That's an argument.
right,
That is not a declaration of what you must do.
right. Well, but then going forward, like the point that I just brought up too is it's informing people, and it goes and this is one of the greatest frustrations I have with probably the beef industry. We are so far behind everybody else. We're constantly in reaction mode to every public or proclamation that happens because we're always behind the curve. The CCA, Colorado Cattlemen's Association, I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
They said they're going to create stuff so that they can inform and whatnot. Why don't you have this in your hip pocket? Why isn't it not there, ready to be distributed immediately? Why aren't you actively distributing it on a regular basis? Because PETA is doing it. Apparently, Farm is doing it as well. Why are you not out there promoting this stuff? Where is the NCBA?
That's
Where
exactly what I was going to say.
what are these? You literally take $1 per head on a sale. Why don't you use that $1 per head to push out pamphlets to create something that's good that maybe you could publish annually and say, hey folks, here's some benefits to beef. If you have a heart issue, that's okay. Here's some alternates that you could do with beef that you could maybe still consume beef, enjoy a nice steak every once in a while, and still be heart healthy. Like, where are the cattlemen in the chain of I guess the political industry of trying to like push this information and to inform people? They're doing it. If they're doing it, they're doing a poor job. If they're not doing it, they need to get off their butts and either get somebody who will help them or stop falling in line with everybody else because they're getting told, because I have a feeling that's what it is. They're doing political alliances in the back rooms, in the lobby, and they're talking to people like, hey, I'll shut up for the next 6 months and you guys can do whatever you want as long as we get this or that.
That is not outside the realm of possibility.
I know
The one thing I will,
well,
yeah, well, and the one thing I will say that is a possibility is that because we're close enough to the industry, we see that. And then what we also don't see necessarily or pay much of attention to is, say, an advertisement for like Omaha Steaks.
mm-hmm.
They got a really good campaign. They've been around for a long time, but you know what? They're using their own money to promote their own thing, but they're talking about how good, delicious, healthy this meat is. And they're not just on steaks, they're poultry, there's, pork, there's a number of different things there. But that's a private industry, a private company doing that within an industry that should be supporting them. We don't think we get enough support. Another industry has really been hit is the poultry industry. They are constantly after them because, a total confinement poultry industry or place, ranch, farm, whatever you want to call it, it's an animal husbandry. They've got animals, these especially chickens, because they can put a high density into a small area, and that's what these birds do. They produce eggs for the most part. They're not meat birds; they're egg birds.
Yeah, that makes
so,
sense.
and I'm sure that they've been hammered by these groups, and I am sure as I'm standing here, these vegans are eating their eggs. There's a little
Probably.
hypocrisy right there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm sure those people in that industry, and I haven't seen it to support my argument here, but because I have not seen anything that educates people on humane chicken husbandry, particularly for eggs, or meat, how,
Yeah.
other than the benefits of the white meat, it's a white meat, it's a non-red meat, which is again not helping cattlemen. Is always they're carving that out and say, hey, we're healthier than they are. Don't eat their meat, eat chicken. And Chick-fil-A's got a funny thing on,
Oh
their
yeah.
advertising with the cow and the chicken. I mean, it's beautiful, it's funny, but it's like, hey, choose them, not me.
Hmm. It's
So
great.
eat more
Great.
chicken.
It's a great business
Sure.
just strategy because I don't think they don't sell any beef products. It's all chicken products, all poultry.
I don't know. That could be. I have no idea. The part about this is you want to take a look at people's perception
Yeah.
and people who are not in the industry. What kind of cow is that?
It's a dairy cow.
It's dairy cow. It's not a meat cow, right? So they don't know. So, but to Chick-fil-A's credit, they don't care. It
No.
doesn't matter. It's the concept
Yep.
again,
Mhm.
that matters. So, I guess what I'm trying to get back to too is the perception, and our perception is we don't get enough support. I don't think we do. I think
And I
everybody in
don't.
these industries probably feel the same way.
Yes, but there's also a difference too. So I think most people politically say I don't have enough support, and they look at everybody around them and they go, "Why aren't you supporting me?" I'm saying we don't get enough support, and I'm looking directly at the beef industry and the organizations within the beef industry and saying, why are you not supporting the very people that you claim to support? I think there's a big difference there.
Well, and I think your larger point earlier is probably the more poignant one, and that is that we tend to be reactive instead of proactive to an issue. And so, well, we'll
So
do this to
frustrating.
counteract that. It's like, no, we used to have a campaign that had Sam Elliott as the voice and talking about, hey, what's for dinner? And they had one that was Montana specific, and it showed a picture of downtown Manhattan, Montana, just west of Bozeman, and
Mhm.
it said, recognize that skyline? And here it is, the mountains in the background. You know, this is Manhattan. Like the Manhattan skyline versus Montana Manhattan. And the end of it, showing what you can get there at somebody's restaurant. And then you have Sam Elliott going on there, beef. It's what's for dinner. That ad campaign was phenomenal. Now, you can't ride that horse forever, but you still need
When
to make other campaigns that will do the same thing. It's informing people of how good it is. And you know what? This isn't just for people in Manhattan.
no,
This is for people here. I mean,
no,
there's all kinds of messages there, and that was very proactive. And I think that campaign was very, very successful.
yeah, I agree with that. I think to kind of go off that point for a second is you said you can't ride that horse forever. Agreed. However, when it's that good, you can ride that for as long as you need to, and it's still to this day people say beef. It's what's for dinner.
Right.
So you might as well keep going with it. There's no reason not to. I know it's been suspended for now, but why not resurrect that? Now,
Well,
I know people in the cattle industry probably wouldn't be excited because if Sam Elliott did it again because his voiceover during the campaign, but in my opinion, that doesn't matter. A dude's just using his voice to make money, whether he
that's
agrees with one side or the other. He's using his
that's his
voice to make
tool.
money.
That is his tool.
He's known
He,
for it. Why
he
not?
also does one that I don't agree with, that his voice is used in, and your brother goes nutty over it, and that is Smokey Bear. He does the voice of
Oh, he hates
Smokey
Smokey
Bear.
Bear.
Well, and Smokey Bear, I mean, we almost got in fist fights in college about the Smokey Bear campaign and how destructive it was in reality, because that was part of what caused the fires in Yellowstone in '88 to be so out of control.
Yeah,
They couldn't put them out. It was snow that put those things out in the fall.
yeah.
I mean, So your brother being a wildlands firefighter, he's like, yeah, Smokey Bear's the worst thing. And we said the same thing in college if we were on that side of it because of what it produced. It produced high fuels because you're snuffing out every single little fire. Now, some of these things need to burn naturally. Let them go, and then you don't have these giant cataclysmic fires.
Right.
So it's the same thing. He's using his voice for something that he's hired to do, and good for him. Hey,
Yeah.
I've got no issue with that. That's
What
how
if
you
you,
make your living,
and
dude.
here's where I would do the what if. What if you were hired by, we'll go back to fall 2020, the Trump campaign to create a stage for a rally. Nobody films it. All right. It doesn't matter what your political leanings are. Nobody films it. They don't see it. They don't take pictures. Then you go across the street and you put together a stage for the Biden campaign. Now you get a couple pictures and people are like, "Oh, this guy likes Biden." He's like, "How do you know?" Like, "Well, you're creating the stage for Biden." What does that have anything to do with?
I got a construction contract to
Yeah.
build something.
And they're like, "Well, you didn't do that for Trump." Yeah, actually, I did 20 minutes prior to. Nobody took a picture of it though. Well, you're for Biden because you got picture taken of you. I can't control who's taking pictures and who's not, bro. Like
Well,
that's my point is with that, and that's why when people got so upset about that, I was like, get out
and
of here.
then,
I don't
well,
care. Like,
and the worst part of that, yeah, that's it's well, what you're trying to do is control people's so that we don't want you building anything for anybody that we don't like.
yeah,
You can only
or
build for this.
voiceovering. Yeah,
Right. It's the same thing. Your point is well taken. Um, and all you're trying to do is make a living. This is what
yep,
my skill is. This is what my talent is. I'm putting my thing behind this. Now, when you said about ride that horse as long as you can, yes, a horse don't last forever. What you do is you kindly put that horse away, let it retire,
yeah,
and you let people remember that horse just as they're doing on bumper stickers. That I see old bumper stickers, and people will say that. It's funny. I've been at friends' barbecues, and they're up there on the grill, and they go, "Hey, what do you got?" And he goes, "Oh, beef. So what's for dinner?" You know, and
a Super Bowl commercial right about now would actually be great. You give with Sam Elliott and you do a nice 1 minute long beef. It's what's for dinner uh campaign or ad. I bet you could get some sales to skyrocket.
you know what you do? You do those before every major barbecue holiday.
Yeah,
People
Memorial
are
Day, uh,
summertime,
uh,
all the summer times.
4th of
Yeah,
July,
yeah.
Labor Day. Those are the three big ones.
Father's Day.
Father's Day. Yeah.
You create you create holidays by doing that. You know
Yeah.
what Dad loves? Dad loves to grill. You know what Dad really loves? Dad loves to grill a good steak. This is
Yeah.
what we can do for our entire family. Father's Day, that's the best gift you can give him. Let him cook you beef.
Yeah.
Done. You're welcome. But I mean, you can create that need.
Yeah.
Just what they're doing is they're creating a need to not do that. And that's the importance, I think, of advertising. I'm no advertiser, believe me, but I know what works. I know in my gut, oh, that's a good commercial. That makes me want to fill in the blank,
Yeah.
right? That's what advertising should do. And that's what advertising should be proactive. If
Yes.
you are reactive, now you're not doing advertising, you are doing damage mitigation.
And you know what? I think in a weird way, I think that's freaking cultural. When it comes
It is
to
cultural.
when it comes to ranchers and farmers, who tends to be uh conservative? It's us. And so what do we do? Oh, we're not looking to change anybody. Just kind of be who we are. Leave me alone. This is the same thing you and I talk about constantly. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. You want to do that? By all means, please go do that. As long as it doesn't harm me, harm my family, harm my friends, and you have fun and you enjoy it, all the power to you.
Or it doesn't even have to be friends. It doesn't even have to be anybody I know, as long as it's not going to be harmful to someone else.
Yeah, yeah. Ultimate. The important part, the important
Yeah,
people, that's who I labeled. But yeah, you're
right.
absolutely right. But I think that's the thing is culturally, hey, I'm just here doing my thing. Leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. And so we take that and we do that in I wouldn't say business sense, but I would say in the industry we do. And it's horrible because who tends to be higher up in the industry? It's the older people, either 50 and higher, they've got more wisdom and experience under their belt. They know how things work and they kind of they're working the system up at the state and federal level, and they're not being proactive at all. They're just reacting. And I think somebody at some point, I don't know, maybe it'll be me in 20, 30 years. We'll see. Flip around and flip that script and be like, no, listen, stop reacting to everything. This is what these are. The NCBA just had the 5 things with their conference that we talked about. Why don't you start promoting those, not just like reacting and using those as reactionary items, but take those and say, okay, here's our 5 things that we are going to promote this year. And it doesn't have to be 5. You can do 2 or 3. I think 2 or 3 are more manageable. Yeah.
Or one hit it hard.
Yeah. And you promote that and you say, hey, we have an educational issue when it comes to the public. They think fill in blank. I mean, I can list it: greenhouse gases, heart issues, overall health issues, ethics issues, all this. Educate. This is what we're going to do. We're going to wipe the slate clean, and we're going to show this is not how it's done. We will spend money as the NCBA or the CCA or the Montana Livestock Growers Commission, right?
Well, Montana Stock Growers Association.
There you go. That's what
it's changed over the years.
But take those groups, either do like a co-op in a region or do it in your state or whatever you want. Come together, create an educational video, spend some freaking money on good filmography, and not really a script, but like kind of script in the sense of these are kind of the things we want to see and we want to promote. Put it all together, package it, and say, this here, America, this is what we provide you every year, every day. This is the good ways we do it. The bad guys, here's how we will always come after them, and we will do everything we can to stop them from doing what they do, because that is wrong, and we are 100% on the same side as you.
Well, and I think there are a lot of groups, I think, that do that, but they're not effective at it. And I think you need to have, whenever you do something like that, you need to have 2 things. You just can't say he said, she said thing where they're saying beef is bad. No, it's not. I mean, that's not going to solve anything. Yep. You need to go, no, it's not. And this is why. Yes, this is the 2-pronged deal. This, what you are saying is incorrect for this point, and this point. This is what we're doing over here, and this is how. And you have that 2-pronged where you're stopping the dam right here, or the water flow, whatever analogy you want to use or metaphor. You're stopping it here, and then you are showing why it's important to do it over here.
Well, on top of that, I think, and this is where we as an American culture do a very bad job, which is recognizing when people are also right on the other side, which is, well, you guys have people that are unethically sourcing beef and they're truly being harmful to animals. You are absolutely right. And here is our plan to find them and to stop them and to make sure that does not happen. Because if you don't recognize that, that's only part of the solution. You might get set 3/4 of the way to the end of the finish line, but that other quarter is just as important. You can't just sit down and just sit there and be like, okay, well, there goes all the other racers.
Well, because they'll point to that however many percent, and it's a low percent, I think. Otherwise, you don't sustain our business sustainably, like we've talked about before. But that's the one that they highlight, and they'll take a picture of that from 360-degree angle. Now they got 360 pictures from one incident. They keep highlighting that, and for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But I do think we have some very vocal people in our industry, very knowledgeable people that do this. But I just don't think, with your point, as I believe correct, we do not have as an effective means for education as we could with the money that we put at it. So
I think one of the greatest organizations that does that is FFA, and they do things that it's not just animal specific though. And I think you get more organizations like that, not necessarily kids, because I know how I was in high school, and there's reasons why I didn't do FFA. There were multitude.
But FFA is just a continuation of 4-H. 4-H is the younger guys.
Yeah.
FFA is the older, which is fantastic.
Right. But my point is, where are those organizations other than just like, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and stuff like that? what other organizations are similar to that are available to the public that could help promote that? Because the way it is right now, you pay dues to like the NCBA or you pay fees or something like that. But there's no real buy-in other than my money's going to one organization.
Well, and with the beef checkoff, that's not voluntary.
No, but that's my
Never had a,
point though,
yeah,
right?
no,
Like
I get it.
there's no buy-in really from you because I have to do this versus I want to, and this is what I see coming from it.
Well, there is buy-in. I'm okay with it. I don't want to be told what to do. I will volunteer to do that, but not everybody will do that as either. However, I still want that money to be spent well,
Yes.
I when we do that, I make sure that half of that money stays in Montana
Mm,
because you
that's
can
good.
designate, yeah, you designate whether you want all of it to go or half of it stay in Montana or it all goes to the national. But my rabid agreement with you is that we still don't do enough,
Yeah.
and a lot of these are these organizations that are, professional, call them representatives of our industry, are also um, not as effective as they could be. That's our fault. They are reactive, not proactive.
Well, it's like
But
politicians. The reason they're there is because of us.
right, but they're also in some instances, I think we've allowed them, or we are content with them creating the echo chamber that we want to hear, where that say, well, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, but they don't
Show
follow
me.
through.
Show me.
Exactly, not necessarily, or follow through effectively. If it's not effective, don't do it. Don't spend your money on something that's not effective. Change it.
I'll say that's one of the greatest things that I've learned from the military is you can talk all day long and I'll believe you. But if I don't see it the next day, your trust is completely gone with me. Because I've seen things where people have said great things and they follow through with it. It's like awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then they did
How
the
about
opposite. And I'm like, nope, never again.
right? Well, and you've been to some clinics with me where we have a time, especially the first day, where you introduce yourself, introduce them to each other, these people, and I say, hey, okay, what are the things you want to get out of this? What are you
Mm-hmm.
looking to do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about these things and we'll do some concepts. And then I'll say, what? Well, when all else fails, we got to get on them and write them. Right?
Yeah.
You can talk about what you're doing, but then now you need to put that skill or that attempt into actual practice.
I mean, there's a reason why there's a term called barstool cowboy.
Right. Oh, hell yes. And you have to be reactive and you have to be flexible, because if it's not working, okay, try something else. Let's do this. Let's find out why this isn't working. What is the reason why this is stalling? What is
Yeah.
the reason why I've just made it worse? What is the reason? Why am I doing this in this way? If I change this, what will the outcome be? Oh, I need to do that. Oh my God, we have an epiphany where, okay, yes, this is what I've been missing. This is what this individual needed in order to make a breakthrough, to really get a better fill in the blank, whatever it is, whether you're riding a horse or you're, problem solving, or you are doing some advertising and
Yeah.
getting reaction back. So you have to continually, you can't just, I think, put a product out there and go, there, how's that?
Right.
I think we did good. And not measure it and see how effective it is. And when it's not effective, get this guy out of here. Get him gone. Quit being a bumpkin. People don't want bumpkins. We're not bumpkins. I think of a small percentage of our industry, less than 2% of the agriculture industry, and I'm talking farm, ranch, the entire, you know, uh, demographic and industries, what we have in our country. I'll bet you of that 2% that's there, I'll bet you we're probably a very, very highly educated group of people with college degrees and practical experience we're not stupid,
No. I
we're
was gonna say,
innovative, but we
uh,
also are in something that is a very low tech in some ways. How high tech is it to have a seed sprout? There's something behind it. It isn't like Bloomberg was saying, oh, you just dump it in there and
yeah.
water it and it grows. There's a lot more to it than that, but we are dependent on weather, things that we cannot control, and we have to adjust to that. we've got to be able to use our noggins that we are smart enough to do in combination and in concert with the low tech things we can't control, and be able to adjust to that. And that's not easy. And that's where some people go out of business. Um, your circumstances, all kinds of reasons why things fail, but there's also lots of good reasons why they are successful too. And we need to let people know that we're just not a bunch of idiots, that they think, like that one Burger King commercial was so condescending, that is like, no, you're lemongrass BS. That I think is what a lot of people have as um, a perception of us. I've been called, you dumb cowboy, you're just a freaking idiot. People they think that, the way you're treated in some places. It was amazing. I was in a gas station the other day. We covered this a while ago. I was in a gas station. I had to go in, and this guy, this probably 25, 30-year-old, was, what do you want? He said that to me. I'm like, really? What do I want? You want to go there with me, pal? I was like, unbelievable how the elitism, and it comes right back around to, you should do what I tell you to do.
Right.
I know better, therefore I am more enlightened, and you don't know enough, and I'm here to save every animal on the planet. They are not for our food consumption. They are here to be enjoyed and to be looked at. Or, ooh, you know what? Oh, they burp and fart too much. They're ruining my air. And we're sitting here yesterday, your mother and I, with this calf that we're grafting onto this cow, and this cow is standing there doing what cows do, burp.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, that's what they do. They're a ruminant. Of course they do. But again, you've got these people that are elitists, think we're dumb, therefore we should have no say in what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perception.
Another
A lot of perception there.
Well, another thing I was wondering about is labeling. So you talked about, I think it was about a half hour ago, talked about we were talking about bees and stuff like that, and then how poultry, they don't get the support that we don't we are similar to poultry in that we think that we don't get enough support, and rightfully so. I think you're right with poultry, especially because poultry doesn't have a good rap, especially when it comes to, I think, the Far East, because whenever you look at the Far East, they have such poultry heavy consumption that you'll go to wet markets and you just see birds all over the place. I think that's partly why.
But it's also cultural. That's cultural too.
Yeah, but but going forward to like the mass production of the chickens and specifically meat chickens here in the United States, I think labeling of chicken, free range chickens and stuff like that. I don't know about poultry, but I know beef, when it says it's grass fed or grass, I think it's just grass fed beef. There's no real definition for grass fed beef. And that's where you have to be careful, because if you don't, you can say it, but you can have them in a barn their entire life, and as long as you feed them just grass bales, you know what I'm saying?
Grass fed, I believe, they have to be on pasture like 80% of the time. However, how are you going to prove that? Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. So, and
for us, it's 100%.
It is. Yeah. No, it is. Hell, we got cows out there in a pasture calving. I've got some in here in the corrals, but these are first-time calvers. I'm, watching them close so that I don't lose them.
I don't really count that though, because when it's temporary for a particular situation for all of maybe a day or two, that doesn't really count. Whereas storage of the animal in the corrals for a week or two, then go to the pasture, then come back in, like that's different, totally different.
Well, and as soon as this cow has this calf here, or heifer has her first calf, and I tag it, band it if it needs to be, and I'm iodine in its navel because I'm just being extra cautious. You don't need a infection, but as long as that cow and calf are paired up, that calf is sucking that cow nicely. Cows wanting that calf, guess where they go? Out to the pasture. They get out of this corral. I don't want them here. And so that is a couple of days of a calf's life that they're
Right.
not actually on grass. And guess what? At that age, they're not eating grass anyway.
Right.
They're all milk diet. So, they're a couple weeks, they're going to start, you know, emulating mom. She's eating this stuff. Oh, I stick this in my mouth too. That's how they learn, So, that grass fat, there is some definition to that, but it's not provable. I mean, what else are you going to feed them? Meat? That's a bad thing.
Right.
Ever hear of mad cow disease?
I was gonna say mad cow. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're starting getting some protein, some prions that are mutating and you cause that problem. That is the worst thing you can do. And I can remember there was a hog outfit that we looked at, just kind of toured. My God, that was in about 1974. I was a little guy, and this guy had actually a grinder, a giant commercial grinder that was a big tub, kind of the size of a large garbage container. And any dead animals he had on his place, he was grinding them up and feeding them back. And like, I was looking at that, and my dad was like, that's a bad idea. Not only is it illegal, it was illegal then. You don't feed tankage or that kind of stuff to hog. I mean, holy crap. That is a wreck waiting to happen. It's like, you don't do those sorts of things. Of course, guess what? The guy was going out of business. Wonder why.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I think the overall point that I'm trying to provide is it's something I should look at is all the specific issues with labels, because, and we should maybe do a
that's a good episode to
that.
do.
Yeah, like cool, for example. But I mean, just the fact that I know there are things
country of origin labeling for those that
I mean, we'll get there eventually. Yeah. But I know there are stuff, if you're into like CrossFit, I had a relationship where she was super into CrossFit, and so I learned a lot about it. And then there's a lot of dieting that goes with it too. And there's stuff that in the labeling part that it sounds good on the paper, but if you look at the details that come behind it, the details behind that label are that it's not really substantive, because essentially the label says something, but there's no real definition legally that says that, and it's all based off of what you think and what your perception is of the public. And I don't remember what these specific definitions are. You can find them in a grocery aisle, and you'll see stuff like, I think like there's stuff I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are labels like with boxes like specifically like health bars or protein bars and stuff, and it'll say something free or pro something. And again, I don't have a specific label on mine. I don't want to be talking out of my butt, but there's stuff that they can put on there, and there's no legal recourse whatsoever because there's no definition for it. So if there's no definition for it, you can say whatever you want, because it's just all based off of perception and advertisement, like we talked about earlier.
Well, and I think that one of those things are in some of our foods, we'll say oils that are part of it, and it can be a bean oil or castor oil, or not castor oil, but corn oil, or what is the one, canola oil.
Yeah,
it's not specific.
Oil.
Right. So a lot of those will have, it will say oils. Well, what they're doing is they're bringing in literally rail cars of oils that can be mixed. So it's not specific to a certain kind of oil. So that's one way where they leave it vague, but it's oils can be, and well, okay, it's a mixture. It's whatever was left over in that tank car they couldn't get out.
Right.
And then they put something else on top of it. So that's how they get away with some of that, which isn't necessarily misleading, but it is not specific, and what do? Do you explain that on a candy bar wrapper?
Exactly.
So there is a little bit of should we say caveat emptor, let the buyer beware.
Yeah.
right? A little bit of that. You need to educate yourself as well, but things really need to be accurate. And I think there's a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of loopholes, a lot of half truths to what something is. And again, it's about perception, and that's why a good advertising campaign about what we are, not what we are not, really is a good push behind that. And I think marketing our own Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, and you just keep spreading that out to every state, because every state, I think almost every state has cattle for consumption in it. Even Alaska and Hawaii have some.
Yeah, I know
So
they do. I'm trying to think of
yeah,
anything that wouldn't.
there's not many. I don't think that.
Maybe the Northeast, because
Well, but
they have a lot of dairy.
but you've got a lot of dairy that are for meat consumption, as far as a very specific, like veal, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
for some of the dairy cattle. So, and
Yeah.
you've got some meat cattle in that country too. I mean, when
There
we
are
were,
some, yeah.
yeah. So I think may not be a huge industry in that area, but it's still there. But I think we have it here in the western side of the United States, and I kind of include Texas in the west, but Louisiana, there's a
The
lot
South.
of it's the
I said
South to me
South.
too. It's the South, but you've got a lot of those states that are down there with a lot higher population, but we got a land mass in which we can allow animals to graze.
Yeah.
So there
The
you
other
go.
problem too, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation. Like, again, grass though. I mean, you start getting into, especially like West Texas. West Texas becomes very much like East Montana.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of grass there. It's going to require more land for the cows. It's just not as fruitful, so to speak.
Well, and what else? What else are you going to do with it?
Oil.
Lucky for them, until they get shut down.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
look at your oil industry.
Yeah.
They've always been the bad guy. And part
Yeah.
of that is, and here's another perception, I think, is that just because you have cattle, the perception is, my God, you're
Got
rich.
money. Yeah.
You are loaded in it. Your stuff is falling out of your pockets. And it's like, bad perception, incorrect perception.
It's
There
falling
are
out of my
some,
pockets, but it's not by choice. It's because I'm having to send it out everywhere constantly. It's coming out of my pockets because people keep reaching in and taking it.
a lot of the governments got that, but
Yeah.
a lot of it flies out of your pocket to keep this thing maintained.
Yeah.
Because you're putting whatever you earn right back into it. So yes, absolutely correct. So there's that. There's bad perception. The oil industry, you make a lot of money, you're a villain.
Yeah.
And oil industry they make a lot of money, but they also provide a product and jobs. And I mean, it's huge. And political leanings on people who hate that. What do they hate about it? What is it they hate? Then it comes back down to the politics of, or religion of politics is what I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your super crazy climate change people this is only caused by, animals farting and burping. No, not true. I mean, everything is about science based. Well, no, it's not. There's a lot of science of religion,
Right.
or the religion of science, religion of politics. I mean, all of those things are so horribly hijacked anymore that I don't trust anything anybody says. I don't trust what I see anymore. It used to be my dad, your grandpa, would say, "Don't believe anything you hear, and only half of what you see." Well, hell, you can't even believe what you see anymore.
No, you can't, because things like the New York Times. But
yeah,
with that, I think we will wrap it up with saying, hey, go beef, go pork, go
chicken, lamb.
Yeah, all of it. Go meat. Because the big thing is, we're not the bad guys. We do have ethics. We do try to raise animals the right way, take care of them and whatnot. And when we do proclamations like this, let's build people up rather than trying to tear people down. And that's the big issue with this. We don't need to be trying to make the entire meat industry in the United States the villain, especially when they provide a lot of the food that comes on the table.
Well, how many chickens does or how many people does one chicken feed?
You can feed a family of 4 very comfortably.
Yeah. How many people does one slaughter steer feed?
I mean, a family for a year.
You got a lot more into it, yes, but you're feeding a lot of people too, and we feed a lot of the globe. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's good. It's not just beef that's for dinner; it's meat that's for dinner. I'll
Yeah.
go out there with that, because you know what, we eat pork. We don't eat lamb that much, and lamb's
No.
good if it's done right.
Done. Yes, if done right.
Well, lamb is probably pretty good in the most part. It's the mutton, it's the older stuff that
Yeah.
I've had some that they knew what to do, and I've
Really.
had some that was like negative. But you know what? We eat a good share of chicken. We spread that around, and venison. Nobody's raising it except everybody who's got cows that are competing for the grass. So yeah, no, we appreciate you following through us. Give us some comments about this. Ask us some questions. Tell us what you think and what you want to hear some more about. And until then, we thank you till you're better paid.